ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la la la, ya la 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 la, ya la la la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la la la, ya la 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 la, ya la la la, ya la 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 la.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Welcome. We're so happy that you've joined us for this Shabbat service. You've come in from the oppressive heat to the cool and comfort of our familiar and embracing sanctuary. I'm Rabbi Jonathan Blake. I'm joined on the bima by Cantor Amanda Kleinman, at the keys by Pete Mal. I've almost called you Reverend Pete Malinverni. Can we call you you're like a reverend? You got soul. Okay. The Reverend Pete Malinverni joins us tonight and is leading us in worship from the piano. The Reverend Timothy Wagner, who is also Facilities Director of Westchester Reform Temple, is our preacher tonight, and we're so grateful to you, Tim, for sharing your special Torah with us and with our entire congregation. We also want to wish Shabbat Shalom to our live streaming congregation on our many streaming platforms. We know you're with us, we feel your presence, and we're grateful for it. We also want to make sure that if this is your first time joining us at WRT, that even behind the mask, you are able to feel seen and welcomed and introduced. So would you please take just a few moments? You don't even have to get out of your seats, but maybe make eye contact with or wave to, wish Shabbat Shalom to somebody you haven't yet met. Somebody you haven't yet met either tonight or ever. And we'll take a few moments to greet one another as we also greet Shabbat. Vicki Kravitz, who often greets us as one of our Shabbat evening greeters, will honor our community by coming forward at this time to kindle the lights for Shabbat. If you'd like to follow along in your prayer books, the words are found for our blessing on page 120. Amen. Shabbat Shalom, Vicki. Thank you. Vicki, it was so nice to see you and so many others who were with us yesterday evening for our summer stage concert in conjunction with staff and clergy from Congregation Kol Ami. We performed music of Bob Dylan, honoring Bob Dylan's 80th birthday on the lawn of Kol Ami. It was so much fun. Cantor, thank you so much for organizing this performance. And you can still, if you weren't able to be with us last night, the broadcast has been recorded and is in glorious high def online. So you can find that through the Temple's Facebook page. You don't need a Facebook account to find it. It's also on the homepage of Congregation Kol Ami. If you go to their live streaming tab and look to the right-hand sidebar, you'll see it as one of the recent broadcasts. I've been sharing it with my friends and family who weren't able to attend. We had a great time.
We did.
We'd like to invite us now to lift up voices from behind the mask. So, like, don't be Pavarotti here. There are risks of spreading COVID associated with really loud choral singing, but a little bit of singing behind the mask. That's okay. Page 130.
Lechu neranena, yai lai 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 lai, la Adonai, yai lai 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 lai, Na'aria, yai lai 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 lai, Letzor Yisheinu, yai lai 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 lai. Let us sing out to God, the maker of all, sure and strong. Let all of creation from mountain to sea hear our song. Lechu neranena, yai lai 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 lai, Na Adonai, yai lai 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 lai, Na'aria, yai lai 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 lai, Letzor Yisheinu, yai lai 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 lai. For all of the wonder in all of God's light, we rejoice. So now let us listen with all of our hearts to hear God's voice. Lechu neranena, yai lai 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 lai, Adonai, yai lai 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 lai, Na'aria, yai lai 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 lai, Letzor Yisheinu, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai 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 lai.
Well, it's wedding season. I know because I am conducting 3 weddings between now and 8 days from now. It is that time of year, and we have a backlog of uncelebrated weddings because of the pandemic. So we have a lot of young couples who have really been through the ringer with COVID and canceled or postponed or modified, altered celebrations. And with that in mind, it's meaningful that we remember that every time we pray Lecha Dodi, every time we gather for Kabbalat Shabbat, this special songful ceremony of welcoming Shabbat, we are actually reenacting a spiritual wedding between the Jewish people and the Sabbath, which is visualized in the mystical literature as a queen or even a bride. And the poem Lecha Dodi is kind of the liturgy that best encapsulates that idea, that when we stand together for Shabbat, we are standing to welcome the beautiful bride into our lives, into our hearts, and we are recovenanted to the Sabbath in this very meaningful way. So with the sanctuary as our very big chuppah, for the last verse of Lecha Dodi, when you see me do this, I'll kind of indicate the door. That doesn't mean leave. That means I want you to turn and face the entrance of the sanctuary, and spiritually we welcome in the Sabbath bride. Lecha Dodi will start on page 138.
Ya la 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 Lecha Dodi, ya la 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 likrat kala, ya la 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 penei Shabbat, penei Shabbat nekabe, ya la 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 Lecha Dodi, ya la 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 likrat kala, ya la 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 penei Shabbat, penei Shabbat nekabe. שמור וזכור בדיבור אחד ישמיענו אל המיוחד אדוני אחד ושמו אחד לשם ולתפארת ולתהילה יא לי לי יא לי 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 לך דודי יא לי 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 לקראת כלה יא לי 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 פני שבת נקבלה לקראת שבת לכוונך כי היא מקור הברכה מראש מקדם נסוכה סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה יא לי לי יא לי 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 לך דודי יא לי 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 לקראת כלה יא לי 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 פני שבת נקבלה
Next page.
התעוררי כי באורך קומי אורי אורי שיר דברי כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה יא לי לי יא לי לי לך דודי יא לי לי לקראת כלה יא לי לי פני שבת נקבלה בואי ושלום עטרת בעלה גם בשמחה ובצהלה תוך אמונה עם סגולה בואי חלה בואי חלה יא לי לי יא לי 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 לך דודי יא לי לי לקראת כלה יא לי לי פני שבת נקבל יא לי לי לך דודי יא לי לי לקראת כלה יא לי לי פני שבת נקבלה
146, we remain standing as we are called to prayer.
ברכו את אדוני המבורך
ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד.
ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד.
It was Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel who perhaps gave most eloquent expression to the idea that while many other faiths build their sanctuaries as testaments to the glory of God in physical space, the Jewish people build their sanctuaries, our cathedrals, out of time. what matters most to us as a civilization is the way in which we mark the moments of our lives and the significant moments of the calendar. And indeed, every moment can be magnified and sanctified simply through the act of paying attention. So as we get ready to acknowledge changing light, changing times, changing seasons, as our evening prayer invites us to, I would direct our attention to the fact that we're in the final days of the Hebrew month of Av. Av is a challenging month on the Jewish calendar. It's really the emotional nadir, as it contains the observance of Tisha B'Av, the observance of the destruction of the temples in Jerusalem, a time of sorrow, a time of considering the fact of our own and our people's vulnerability. But now we're moving steadily toward the next great observance on the Jewish calendar, which, Cantor Kleiman, did you know that Rosh Hashanah is 4 weeks from Monday night?
Thank you for reminding me.
Thanks for reminding me. Yeah, exactly. I know, we're both breaking out into hives over this. And this is a time when rabbis and cantors are preparing for High Holy Day services, but all of us, as part of a Jewish people, are preparing for the hard spiritual work, for the relationship repair, for the soul searching that this season warrants. As we do so, we give thanks to God for the opportunity to change and to be part of a world that is always changing. Baruch atah Adonai ha'ma'ariv aravim. We praise you, God, for bringing on evening, for bringing on morning, for moving time inexorably forward. Offer Shema with us. Turn to page 150 as we offer Ahavat Olam, 150.
Ahavat Olam Beit Israel Amcha Avta Torah u'mitzvot chokim u'mishpatim otanu limadeta ki hem chayenu ve'orech yameinu uvahem negeh yomam v'layla ve'avatecha al tasir mimenu le'olamim Baruch atah Adonai ohev amo Yisrael Yai lai 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 Yai lai 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 Yai lai 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 Yai lai 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 Ve'avatecha al tasir mimenu le'olamim Baruch atah Adonai ohev amo Yisrael ohev amo Yisrael ohev amo Yisrael Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed
154.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבבך ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ושוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
We join for Micha Mocha, page 158.
Micha Mocha, Ba'elim Adonai. Micha Mocha, Nedar Ba'kodesh. Nora,
Tehilot,
Oseh, Beleh, Nora,
Tehilot,
Oseh, Beleh, Malchutecha Ra'uvanecha, Bokei Ayam Lifnei Moshe u'Miriam, Ze'eli, Anu ve'ameru, Adonai,
Yimloch,
Leolam, Ha'ed, Adonai, Yimloch, Leolam, Ha'ed. נעמד כיפת אדוני את יעקב, וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני,
Uvaruch Shemo.
העל ישראל.
Amen. 162.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם לעולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש, וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש. Ya la 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 la, 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 ya ya la 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 la, 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 ya la 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 la. Adonai sifatai tiftach, ufi agi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Ya la 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 la, 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 ya la 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 la. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Vekonei Hakol, Vezocher Chasdei Avot ve'imahot, Umevii Geula livnei v'neihem, Leman Shemo be'ahava, Melech Ozer u'Moshia u'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'Ezrat Sarah. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע, מוריד הטל, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים. ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
Next week, as part of our Friday night ritual, we will begin sounding the shofar, and will continue to do so on every Shabbat throughout the month of Elul, the month before Rosh Hashanah. But even tonight, listen within for a kind of internal shofar, a clarion call to wake up, to change in our lives what we can change for the better, to accept with grace and humility what we cannot change, and the wisdom to know the difference. You're invited to remain standing or take your seats, as is your prayer custom, as we offer our continuing prayers silently.
עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל.
Throughout the summer months, it is cherished and long-standing WRT custom to invite members of our extended congregational family to deliver the Devar Torah, a few reflections, both Torah-oriented and also personally informed, reflecting on the weekly Torah portion. I have long wanted to ask Tim Wagner, Facilities Director of WRT, to offer a Devar Torah. So I promise this is only the first of many times that the Reverend will be preaching at WRT. I've had the privilege of preaching at Croton Falls Community Church, where Timothy Wagner has been spiritual leader and pastor for more than the last 25 years. Prior to coming to Croton Falls, he served in Lutheran, Methodist, Episcopal, and Presbyterian churches, as you can see. He loves God, he loves all of God's children, and the specific denomination, even the fact that whether he's serving a Christian community or a Jewish community, to Tim, it's all serving the Most High. And I think that's one of the most beautiful of his many beautiful spiritual qualities. He brings a diverse understanding of faith and worship. He's known for his creative approach to worship and seasonal celebrations. When I have presented at Croton Falls, I have had the opportunity to deliver an interfaith style or an ecumenical sermon around the Thanksgiving holiday for your congregation's Harvest Home celebration. And it is not uncommon on any given Sunday or any given holiday at Tim's church to hear the familiar strains of Debbie Friedman and Misha Beirach and other tunes that might just have come from his exposure to them here at Westchester Reform Temple. And we might just end up by singing from a song from Godspell at the end. It's really a joyful and fun way of praising. His outlook is forward-thinking, but still holds fast to the centrality of Scripture, as you'll hear tonight, and the sacraments. The Good Reverend celebrates all of the Christian life cycles of baptism, confirmation, marriage, healing, and funerals with a deep sense of pastoral care. Pastor Tim, as he's known outside of WRT, lives in the church parsonage, which is just spectacular. And you have to see it around Christmas time. It is the essence of the season. He is also chaplain of the Croton Falls Fire Department. I don't know how you do it all, Tim. It really is amazing. If you thought that his only full-time job is serving Westchester Reform Temple, think again. This is a person who gives and then gives some more. It is also such a pleasure for me to call Tim a friend to me and Kelly, and all around a gute neshama, a really good soul and a mensch. And it's especially nice to welcome back to WRT tonight Billy and Randy Bowen. And Billy is now serving, having been custodian on our staff, as I think you're a facilities manager at Anshe Chesed, do I have that right, in New York City? How's it going? Fantastic. We're so happy. We miss you too. We're so happy that you're worshiping with us tonight. By the way, I wanted to address an issue that I understand that Tim found very vexing a couple weeks ago while I was on summer vacation. I was informed by Cantor Kleinman that we actually had a raccoon in the Holy Ark. Did you guys hear about this? Yeah, did you solve the raccoon problem, Tim? Okay, well, Well, there's an old joke about that, which was actually, I'm sure you could apply the same technique here, though. There was a synagogue that was suddenly infested with just tons of squirrels. And they tried everything. They brought in pest control, animal control. They could not get rid of the squirrels. Finally, they remembered what they should have done in the beginning, which is, of course, you consult the rabbi. And they say, Rabbi, what should we do? And the rabbi said, I have the perfect solution. So the rabbi came up with the plan. We'll bar mitzvah all of them, and then we'll never hear from the squirrels again. So in case you need an assist with the raccoon problem, just call on me and Cantor. We'll bar mitzvah the raccoon. That's it. Okay. You've been very patient with my long introduction. It gives me pleasure to welcome Reverend Tim Wagner to the Bema tonight.
Just a quick aside, I knew I was in trouble where I don't use a prayer book every week, but I use the Book of Common Prayer. And on a Christmas Eve service, I sat down and I picked up the prayer book and I opened it, not this way, but I opened it this way, and I knew I was in trouble. Again, it's an honor and a privilege to be here this evening. Most of the time I like to be behind in the scenes, making sure that your experience from a physical point of view is taken care of. And for any of you that have any apprehension about how we're handling these high holy days, fear not, we are working tirelessly to present a magnificent days of awe for all of you. And it may be a little different once again, but most certainly we're going to do it in a safe way, and we're going to do it in a way where we can get together as God's holy people and celebrate those special days. This week's Parsha, the Israelites are about to cross into the Promised Land. And as such, in Deuteronomy, which we are in, it's a second giving of the law as expressed in the relationship of God's commands. The dietary restrictions, release from debt, release of slaves, the practices around pilgrim festivals, Pesach, Sukkot, and Shavuot, blessings and curses if we follow or don't follow God's holy laws. We need to see, though, the context of these words to understand or to glean the meaning of these words for ourselves today. Why restate these laws? They had been given at Sinai. After all, Shavuot was 11 weeks ago in the cycle of festivals that we celebrate here at WRT. Well, for the Israelites, it was 40 years. A generation had passed as they were getting ready to enter into that land that God had promised. So it was time for our refresher. The command here, though, there's some unusual parts of these passages. There's this command to destroy all the Canaanite worship sites. Does seem a bit heavy-handed. Once again, though, what is the context? The Promised Land was to be where God, God's people, and the Torah were to dwell. Other pagan practices would distract from the relationship between God and the people of Israel and their study and devotion to the Torah. What context, though, could there be for us today? Should I be handing out hammers and we all go out and find some pagan altars to destroy? I want to suggest, as Rabbi Blake said, as we prepare for these days of awe, that this is a time for us, the context for us to be, we may ask ourselves today, what are the false idols that you are following in your own life? Maybe the god of wealth, maybe the god of sport, maybe the god of self-centered existence. An inward look at ourselves will reveal that we need to do what we need to do in our own lives, and what then we are to do to heal the world around us. What actions do we need to do? And so if we look back at these passages, it's quite simple. There's a simple command, and that command is to take care of the poor. It starts at the end of the 14th chapter, and almost the entire 15th chapter talks about helping those that are poor, disadvantaged. And the context for us is the same as it was for the Israelites then. But only for us today, we have another part that we can look at. Around us today are not only the ones that lack food and basic necessities and essentials of living, but around us today are countless people, maybe some even here in this holy sanctuary, that are finding themselves poor in spirit. The isolation, the fear many live today are not bound by financial means and even traverse the gambit of social and economic structures. The last 16 months have been an equalizer for the entire community, rich or poor. We've all had to shift. We've all had to adapt. We've all had to change. And we as a people don't like to change. We like what is comfortable. We don't want new guidance from the CDC. How do we get out of our poor in spirit natures? Well, once again, the answer lies in these passages. Remember, you were slaves in Egypt, and the Almighty One redeemed you. As then a redeemed people, we are all given the opportunity to return. The days of awe start with a return. Indeed, in these uncertain times, we need to return to what we know. Not necessarily return to our old ways, but to return to the sacred tent once again. Matavu. It was a non-Jew, Balaam, who stated, Matovu, oalekom Yaakov, mishkenoteka Israel. How lovely are your tents, Jacob, your dwelling places, Israel. We are given the opportunity to dwell once again in our sanctuary, and even in real tents these holy days, as we return in this season of hope, this season of creation, the season of renewal. As a pastor, I am asked many times, how do you know there is God? First, I want to share with you that for me, it's found in Psalm 8. When I look to the heavens, the work of your fingers, the moon, the stars which you have established, that's where I see the Eternal One. And the second is very personal to me, because it's something that I have learned over the last 7 years being here at WRT. The existence of the Jewish people to have overcome countless obstacles, hatred, persecution, and in my parents' generation witnessed the Holocaust, but then also the rebirth of the state of Israel. This, for me, at the personalist level, is the clearest proof that God is present in creation. You yourselves are the witnesses to the existence of God. By the history and passing Lador Vador from generation to generation, You are the living stones of the Eternal One. And for me, as I worship with you and I work with you, this is where I find the deepest comfort and the deepest realities of the Eternal One. My hope and my prayer that in these next few weeks we can return as a free people, a redeemed people, and that our spirits are renewed and sustained in these days of awe. That fear may be banished, and that the Eternal One's tent of protection will inspire and cover us all. God's blessing and God's peace. Shabbat Shalom.
Tim, it's really, it's a blessing to share the Bima with you tonight, but it's just as much or more a blessing to share the service to this holy congregation each and every day.
Thank you.
It makes sense that those words that you so beautifully quoted, and even with Pete's accompaniment, Matovu Ohalecha Yaakov, Mishkenotecha Yisrael, how beautiful are your tents, O Jacob, your dwelling places, O Israel, speaks to you. That line speaks to me too. And I think you not just know, but demonstrate day after day that what makes a tent holy and beautiful is not only the attention to, are the floors clean, are the doors in good repair, do the seats work, but also what kind of life are we going to have inside of this tent? What is this tent actually here to do? And I think that it is inspiring for all of us to know how committed you are to the vision of the tent of Westchester Reform Temple as a model, an embodiment of a world made perfect. That's the whole point of our religious community, to model not the world as it is, which we know contains all manner of brokenness, pain, suffering, and poverty, both financial and spiritual, but also to model what a world made whole, a world as it ought to be, could resemble. So thank you.
Thank you.
In acknowledgement of the way in which this tent helps us visualize the transformation from the broken to the whole, from suffering to healing, stay up with us and sing Misha Berach with our community tonight. This is our prayer of healing. Is it on your?
It's on, yeah.
Oh my gosh. Tim wears the words of Misha Berach on the sterling silver bracelet on his right hand. It's really poignant to know. Tonight we are praying for many in our community who yearn for healing and wholeness of body and spirit. I would invite members of our community who would like to share the names of loved ones who have been sick. If you'd like to offer their names aloud, you can stand. Speak those names when my eyes meet yours. To these names, we add David ben Moshe, Eliyahu Mecha ben Sarah, Joan Tucker, Robert Zagoria, Tony and Gina DeLappa, Naomi bat Moshe Esther, Mark Sosnowitz, Matthew Atwood, Stephen Bleckman, Andrew, Gloria Byron, Anthony and Elizabeth Danker, Mordechai ben Yaakov, Georgette Nussbaum, Deborah Kapnick, Nicole Schusse, Neil Glaskal, Leah Greenspan, Andrea Reiner, Chaim ben Sephora, Masha Batsora, Aviva Sila bat Esther Bela, Jeffrey Millman, Ken Master, Mary Deutsch, Chava Batsara, Eliyahu Chaim ben Fredel, Sheila Fried, Malka Tzipora bas Rachel, Tamar bat Malka, Heschel Meir ben Davida Chana, Shai Aviad ben Balfora, Howard Cowan, and Rosa Aurora Ramirez Vera. Together with all the names that we are quietly pronouncing, the words of our prayer are on page 371. You're invited to join with us.
Misha Berach Avo bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
We rise for Aleinu, page 586.
Aleinu leshabeach ladon hakol, late gedula leotzer breshit, shelo asanu kegoyei haratzot, velo samanu kemishpechot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkeinu kahem, begor aleinu kechol hamonam, anachnu korim, ומשחרים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני
Ushemo,
Ushemo,
Ushemo Echad.
As we prepare to recite the Mourner's Kaddish this evening, and as we call to mind all of those whom we have lost in recent weeks, and all of those whose Yartzeiten are commemorated on this Shabbat, I would like to share an azkara, a memory of Cantor Israel Goldstein of blessed memory, a cherished teacher of mine and of Cantor Rodnitzky's. He actually was formerly the director of the School of Sacred Music, the cantorial program at the Hebrew Union College Jewish Institute of Religion. He was a master cantor and the son of a cantor as well, but in a profession known for big personalities and big voices, Cantor Goldstein was distinguished for his soft-spoken nature, for his humility, for his sensitivity, and for his caring. And so this Shabbat, I remember, and Cantor Rodnitzky remember our teacher, Cantor Israel Goldstein of blessed memory.
Truly a cantor's cantor. I was privileged to meet him on several occasions, and I know that he inspired, taught, led, and mentored generations of your colleagues. Thank you for that meaningful and heartfelt azkara, that remembrance. We also want to allow members of our community who are observing Jewish periods of mourning, remembering loved ones, either those who've been taken in recent days or whose Yartzeiten fall on the Shabbat, to remember in the loving embrace of your WRT community. So I'd like you to rise in the following order. If you are within Shiva, the first 7 days of remembrance for a loved one, would you please rise at this time? And will those who are within 30 days of remembering a loved one please rise? If you are within a first year of having laid to rest your loved one, would you please rise? And will those who have a yahrzeit to commemorate tonight please rise? We ask the entire congregation to stand as one with you, our mourners, in sympathy and in fellowship, as tonight our WRT community remembers Cantor Israel Goldstein, former teacher of Cantor Kleinman and Cantor Rodnitzky and Cantor Davidson, Beatrice Steyer, mother of Robert Steyer, Richard Steyer, and Elizabeth Steyer, Mark Gitlin, brother of Rebecca Eisenberg, Ruth Price, mother of Ellen Rosenberg, Irving Scharf, father of Andrew and Susan Scharf, and Marvin Lipton, father of Denise Rothberg. And those, the anniversary of whose death we remember on this Shabbat: David Adler, Theodore Baumritter, Ida Bender, Walter Burden, Alfred Berger, Eleanor Mazer, Lillian Birnbaum, Dan Silver, Nancy Tumarkin, Sidney Brenner, Roy Carter, Herbert Chazen, Bonnie Kringen, Abraham Vincent Cuba, Albert Frankel, Edna First, George Gersh, Belle Goldner, Archie L. Goodman, Richard Kaiser, Leonard Karotkin, Alan Lasher, Murray Lawner, Louis Levin, Harold Levine, John Lyon, Pepe Margulis, Kate Miller, Morris Older, E. Myrna Potts, Charles Ray, Milton Rabinowitz, Reba Salkoff, Edward Rosenbaum, Dean Schaefer, Belle Scheinert, May Schleimer, Miriam Michael Schoeneman, Adele Schwab, Martin Siegel, Jules Sherman, Eleanor Silverman, Sylvia Singer, Stuart Spicer, Sherwood Spencer, Carl R. Spiro, Eugene Spiro, Suzanne Stein, Howard Francis Stock, Adam Tartell, Ruth Tunick, Jack Wertheimer, Ronald West, Charles Zelaznik, and Lillian Ziff. If you have names to add to our commemoration, or if I have inadvertently mispronounced your loved one's name, kindly speak them at this time. Tihi zichronam baruch. May the memory of all who lend blessing to the world abide as a blessing. As together we give thanks to the God of life, the words of the Mourner's Kaddish are found on page 598. Yit gadal v'yit kadash shemei rabbah, be'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uv'izman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shemei rabbah mevarach le'alam alamei almayah, yiparach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei d'kudusha b'richu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran bi'alma v'yimru amen. Yehei shlam rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Osei shalom bimromav hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen.
Oseh shalom bimromav hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imeru amen.
We invite you to remain standing as we prepare to conclude our service tonight, and we will do a little bit of socially distanced schmoozing for a few moments, masks on in the building, or if you go outside where I recognize it's a little bit steamy, but if you're vaccinated, want to take off your masks outside, you can also wish Shabbat Shalom to your fellow members of the community. Please take a moment, though, after services to greet the people you haven't met yet tonight. I was delighted to greet Marion and Charles, so welcome, first time to WRT. Did I get your names right? Oh, thank you. Behind the mask, it's so hard to hear how you pronounce your names. Welcome. It's such a pleasure to have you joining our community tonight for the first time, so please say hi. We're also delighted that Charlie, Holly, and Sarah Mayer are here tonight. The Reverend Charlie Mayer, who's also a devoted member of Westchester Reform Temple with his family, will be our preacher next week. So from one reverend to the next, you have a very big shoes to fill, and I look forward to sharing the bima with you and to have you teaching and inspiring our congregation. It really, once again, is such a blessing, Tim, to have you share these words from Scripture and from your heart and soul with our community tonight. You know, people often pay me a beautiful compliment, which is, Rabbi Blake, WRT has such a wonderful team of spiritual leaders. And I often answer, yes, but have you met the facilities director? So thank you for being one of our spiritual leaders, Tim, and a member of the team. Gratitude to John Mark and BK Mungia, who greeted us warmly as we entered the sanctuary tonight, to Vicki Kravitz, who lit Shabbat candles. Do we have any other announcements?
The only other announcement is that Nancy Michaels has asked that on Friday nights we let the congregation know that we are in need of ushers for our high holiday services. We are offering a vastly expanded schedule of services this year, which means that we are in need of more ushers and greeters than ever. And so if you would be willing to volunteer your time for this sacred task, please reach out directly to Nancy Michaels or to Franklin Spicer.
Yes, I think that the task of lovingly shepherding our flock from one destination to the next in unfamiliar settings and setups is indeed holy work. So please raise your hands and put yourself in for a shift for ushering on these high holy days, which, once again, begin 4 weeks from Monday night. And we look forward to celebrating them with you. But first, we'll conclude our Shabbat service.
Page 625 will conclude with Adon Olam. Adon Olam asher malach b'terem kol yitzir nivra le'nasa v'chefso kol azai melech shemo nikra ve'acharei kichlot hakol levado yimloch nora והוא היה והוא הווה והוא יהיה בתפארה והוא אחד ואין שני להמשילו להכבירה בלי ראשית בלי תכלית ולא העוז והמשרה והוא אלי וחי גואלי וצור חבלי בעת צרה והוא ניסי ומנוס לי מנעת כוסי ביום הקרב בידו הפקיד רוחי בית אישן והעירה ועם רוחי גביעתי אדוני לי ולא יירא ולא יירא.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
my love. So many people try to say hello, so they grab you away from me.